Hi everyone, this is Professor Akert speaking, and I've designed this short video to offer you an introduction to our first major unit in the course, which is the unit on rhetorical analysis. I want to offer a disclaimer that this presentation is not meant to replace the other information that you'll find in your module on Canvas in your online classroom about rhetorical analysis. You'll need to read those online handouts because this video is just meant to supplement the information that I give to you in those handouts. It's not meant to replace that information. So please do carefully review all of the handouts in the module because you will need that information for writing your first paper, and also rhetorical analysis and fallacies in logic. We'll get to that in a moment. Will be the subject of your proctored exam. First of all, let's talk about what rhetorical analysis really is. And for example, the root of that is what rhetoric is. Rhetoric is simply the art of using language to achieve a particular purpose. Sometimes the word rhetoric can be used in a pejorative or a very negative sense. So you're watching a politician on TV and the person next to you says, "Oh, come on, that's just empty rhetoric." That's not really how we're using the term in this particular context. A writer's rhetorical strategies are very, very critical to the author's purpose. So we have to first determine what the purpose really is. Is the author trying to entertain us, inform us, persuade us? For our purposes, we're going to be looking at persuasive articles, where the author really is trying to sell an argument, sell a thesis, sell a position, and get us to buy it. And throughout this presentation, I'll be using an analogy between sales as they occur, for example, on a car lot, and sales as they occur in terms of an author trying to sell you an argument, because the strategies and techniques that are employed are very much the same. First of all, when analyzing an argument, there are certain things we want to look for. First of all, what is the general tone of the writing? And is that tone appropriate for the author's purpose? If the author is making an argument about something that's particularly controversial or contentious, is the author using the appropriate tone? Is the author being fair? The tone can be very, very damaging to an author's argument if it's not used appropriately, if it comes off as, for example, harsh or condescending to the reader, or the tone can enhance the author's purpose in selling the argument, which of course is in the thesis statement. Does the author use examples or analogies or both to try to help achieve his or her purpose in writing this argument? Examples and analogies, as long as they're relevant and as long as they're accurate, can be very, very effective in convincing an audience of one's position. The organization of the work. Look carefully at how the author organizes the argument. Does it seem to flow well? Supporting evidence. We cannot offer a position, an opinion on a particular subject, any subject, without backing that up with support. That's the sale. So, first of all, is the supporting evidence that the author provides, is it credible? From where is the author getting this information? If it's from Wikipedia, then maybe not so much. Anyone can post anything to Wikipedia. If it is from a peer-reviewed scholarly journal, it's much more likely to be credible information that has been vetted. Is the information timely? Is it up to date? Is it substantial enough to help the author prove his or her point or points? Is it accurate and relevant? And finally, is it fully cited? If an author provides information that is not his or her own from another source and does not cite that information, of course, not only is that plagiarism, but it also completely destroys the author's credibility right from the beginning. So we want to ensure that the author is properly citing all of the sources that are used to reinforce the argument. And finally, does the author concede to the opposition? Concede means to simply step aside. For example, if I'm offering an argument for a particular position on a particular issue, let's say that my local community is trying to raise the homeowners association fees, and I am against this move. I do not want them to raise the fees. I could offer my argument about why the fees should not be raised, and then in one paragraph I could offer up some reasons that the opposition might claim would be good. My opposition may want to raise the fees for the following reasons, and I actually concede and state those reasons. But then, most importantly, I come back and I take those one by one and dissect them and show them why those are not viable, why they are not valid reasons for increasing the homeowners association fees, which only reinforces my own position that those fees should not be increased. This can be an incredibly effective tactic and is often used by the most talented writers, by the most talented marketers, advertisers, politicians, and so on. So what are we doing when we conduct rhetorical analysis? We just reviewed some of what we might be looking for in terms of supporting evidence, tone, examples, analogies, and so forth, but we also need to look at appeals. Appeals are the backbone of an argument, any argument, whether it be a written argument or a verbal argument or any sort of sale. An argument is simply making the sale. So throughout this slide, I'll be using an analogy with, for example, a car dealership. First of all, though, let's look at the three appeals. These come from the Greek. Pathos appeals are appeals to our emotions. Logos appeals appeal to our logic or reason. And ethos appeals are meant to establish and build on the author's trust. I want to show as an author writing an argument that I'm trustworthy, that I'm credible, that I have good character, that I'm fair. And this only helps me in my purpose, which is to sell you my thesis statement, to sell you my argument, to convince you of my particular position. So let's take an analogy. Let's say that I am a car dealer, a salesman on a car dealership, and let's say this car dealership is a Volvo dealership. A couple drives up and they are looking at a particular model of a Volvo, and I want to sell them this car. That's my purpose. So I might use pathos appeals. For example, I might explain to the couple the safety features of the car. Particularly if the couple has kids, this may be very, very important to them, or even if they don't have children, safety is certainly going to be important, an important factor in one's decision of whether or not to buy a car. So I might cite the car's safety record. Volvos have traditionally had very good safety records, so I really want to play that up and appeal to my audience, in this case, the potential buyers' emotions. I might also play up some of the bells and whistles on the car. Maybe we don't need that latest and greatest gadget that is mounted to the steering wheel in the form of a button that lights up at night, but it could be something they don't necessarily need, but something that they very much want, and that is a very powerful emotional appeal. Second of all, I might use logos appeals. Those appeal to our reason or our logic. This is where I start citing gas mileage. This is where I start citing true car value, depreciation rates. This is where I appeal to the buyers, or hopefully buyers, sense of logic and reason in order to substantiate my argument, to reinforce my argument that this is the car they should buy. And finally, ethos appeals. These are designed to make my potential buyers trust me. Why should they trust me? They're not going to buy from me if they don't trust me. So I might want to cite my experience working at that dealership. I might want to cite my certifications. Why do I know anything about these cars? Why am I not just making all of this stuff up? I need to establish my own credibility and show them that I am someone that the couple can trust. Finally, we need to look at fallacies in logic, and these can be very, very sly. So I'm going to pause for a moment and let you read the screen, and then we'll pick back up. Okay, a fallacy in logic. Logical fallacy is simply an error in reasoning. And these can be very, very persuasive if left undetected. But if we sniff them out, if you will, it really does hurt an author's argument, because the author is attempting to support his or her position by trying to, in effect, trick us. These are used every single day in marketing, in advertising, by politicians, in multiple sources. In fact, we're going to be looking later this semester and spotting some of these in local media. But we want, when we are conducting a rhetorical analysis, to scan that article and make sure that that author is being fair. Is the author trying to trick us? We're going to work much more extensively with fallacies and logic later on in the next module, but for now we will leave it at that fallacies and logic are extremely damaging to an author's argument. If you can find them, if you can identify them, if you can show that they are really there and show why they hurt the author's argument, that's really, really good rhetorical analysis. Finally, let's talk a bit about what rhetorical analysis is not. The number one mistake I see in students' papers, rhetorical analysis papers, is the student has a strong opinion one way or the other about what is being argued in the particular article that's up for analysis, and the student wants to jump into the fray and argue with or against the author. That is not what we're doing in a rhetorical analysis. An example. Let's say that we're reading an article about something very controversial, capital punishment. I need to keep my own opinions about capital punishment completely out of my analysis. I am indeed making an argument, but not about capital punishment. I'm making an argument about how well or how poorly the author argues his or her case for capital punishment. And that's the trick to rhetorical analysis. It can be very, very difficult to keep our own opinions out of it, particularly if we have strong opinions about the topic at hand in the article. So we are making an argument, but not about capital punishment in that particular example. We're making an argument about how effective the author is in selling his or her own position regarding capital punishment. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Please review the other materials within this week's module, and we'll be doing much more with this in the days to come.